Regional Theatre of the Palouse, or RTOP, is the first theater to open in Pullman's historical downtown area since 1927 when the Liberty Theater, now Rico's Pub, moved into the Cordova Theater. Creating a theater has revealed the hidden potential of the historic Down-In building located at 122 North Grand Avenue. They are continuously trying to grow and expand to bring new opportunities to the Palouse region. They dared to dream and discovered anything was possible. Opening in 2007, RTOP obtained a 501c3 nonprofit status, produced its first major musical at Beasley Coliseum, and transformed a retail store into an intimate 75-seat theater, all in little over 1 year. They've had a busy and wonderful few years since their premiere season. Their mission is to promote the arts and art education through quality theater. Utilizing their performing arts school, they feature summer camps, seasonal workshops, language studio conversation groups, private voice lessons, and acting classes. From their website, you don't have to go to Broadway. Regional Theatre of the Palouse is here, bringing you Broadway classics, revivals, premieres, and award-winning shows. rtoptheatre.org. That's RTOPTheatre.org. Executive Director, Costumes and Scenic Designer John Rich has been in the theater profession for over 50 years. Beginning as a professional child performer, he moved on to directing and producing. He has directed Tony, Emmy, and Oscar-winning actors including Carol Lawrence from Broadway's West Side Story, Lee Merriweather from television's Barnaby Jones and Miss America, and George Chakiris from the film West Side Story. He has performed with John Raitt, Betty Grable, Don Daly, and Jane Powell. John received his Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in Directing and Theater Management from the University of Southern California and has won international awards for directing and producing. John helped to develop RTOP and was instrumental in the design and remodel of the RTOP Theater, a lifelong dream. Jim Sato, hair and makeup design, attended USC earning a BA in drama. He studied under Hollywood's Golden Age head makeup artist for MGM Studios' William Tuttle. He has appeared in countless productions including the title roles of Sweeney Todd, Willy Wonka, The Odd Couple as Felix Unger, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof as Big Daddy, Sunset Boulevard as Max, Guys and Dolls, Damn Yankees, and many more. Artistic director and lighting designer Michael Todd enjoys the many roles he gets to play at RTOP both on and off the stage. He has worked under John Rich's tutelage for over 5 years. He is a teaching artist in RTOP's Performing Arts School and leads Spanish, French, and German conversation groups. Directing credits include Sister Act, The Miracle Worker, Cabaret, Sunset Boulevard, Pippin, and Plaza Suite. Performance credits include Newsies, Company, Barefoot in the Park, All Shook Up, Meet Me in St. Louis, Mamma Mia, The Sound of Music, and Guys and Dolls. John, when did art enter your life?
Oh, very young. 3 or 4, maybe earlier. Mother started taking us to the theater when we were 3 or 4. And it's very interesting that we were so young, but we were well behaved. And White Christmas was one of the first films I remember watching.
So it was your parents that kind of were responsible for introducing you to art?
My mother.
And were your parents also artists?
No. My mother was an educator. My father was a chemical engineer.
So where do you think the artistic genes came from?
Oh, Dad was a musician. He played the piano. He played the trumpet, which I didn't know about until I came up to Pullman once, and he said, "Oh, I know where Pullman is. I played trumpet in the Berkeley band." I went, "I didn't know you played the trumpet." So there was a lot of things. It was like his languages. Half the time I didn't know what language he could speak, and he just suddenly turned it on. And Mother was just extremely creative. She really was a designer. I really got my abilities and training for sewing and costume design from my mother. And Mother did do, I have to say, thinking about it, she did do shows professionally. She designed costumes for big theaters. Not a lot, but because education was her background. But she was a workaholic and she'd work around the clock.
Tell the story of when your mom made someone a costume backstage.
Oh, okay. This I don't know if many of you will remember, it was Wizard of Oz starring uh, Connie Stevens. And Connie Stevens was a TV personality back in the 50s and 60s. She did films and recordings. And anyway, we went to see the show. We knew people in the cast. One of the Munchkins took their costume home, which is a no-no, and they forgot it. And so they were frantic because they lived too far away from the theater to go get it. Mom, she was wearing a coat, and she cut the lining out of her coat, and in the car, she sewed up a costume for the kid to go on. Don't remember who the child was, but yeah, that's the kind of thing Mom would do. She was just extremely creative. I really considered her the Martha Stewart before Martha Stewart was Martha Stewart.
Jim, how did art enter your life?
I was daydreaming in third grade about being having a spotlight on me, being dressed in a little black tuxedo and a bow tie, tap dancing and singing. And it came true. It came full circle when I came home to Pullman. I was dressed in that same tuxedo and starring in Cabaret when we did Cabaret the first time in 2007, I think. And it was the same, same vision I had 50 years later, or 40. Yeah.
So now we need to talk to the artistic director, Michael Todd. Michael, how did art find itself into your world?
I have always really enjoyed art. My grandpa, he's an artist, a painter, and I would look at his paintings or just always loved art classes and choir and in elementary school, doing church choirs and things. I always just had a respect for performance art and visual art. And I kind of like Jim remember wanting to be an artist. I was associating artist with a painter, like just that vision of just like, my middle name is Vincent, and I always loved Vincent van Gogh, his art. And so I would dream of being a painter. But I kind of pushed that out of my mind because society says, well, there's no money in art, there's no livelihood in art. And so I would just kind of do it on the side as a creative outlet throughout elementary, middle school, high school. My first interaction with theater, with performance art, though, was with John directing at PCT doing Sound of Music. Some friends of mine were going to auditions, and I asked if I could tag along. I tagged along, and I got cast, and they didn't. But it was a good show, and I kind of caught the theater bug and just the love of all of the different art forms coming together, and it's grown ever since. I think from RTOP's Performing Arts School, assisting as a teacher in the summer camps and the seasonal workshops. Two things I remember that really impressed me that kind of set me in this trajectory. One was I was in the ensemble for Secret Garden, and it was a rehearsal time, and the lady playing the housekeeper, is it Martha? Yeah, she sang Hold On, and there was a lighting effect, it was a dress rehearsal, and it was just all these layers coming together, and it lifted my spirits. And I just felt the transformative power of musical theater in that moment. And I'm a really spiritual person, a religious person, and I kind of equated that feeling with the divine, with just the uplifting nature of art and music and how it can raise our spirits. And so that's when it showed me that there's more to the performance arts than just singing and dancing and the spotlight. it can really make a difference in people's lives, because it made a difference in mine. And then while teaching in the performing arts school, my first kind of lead role instructor was Madeline's Christmas. And I pulled like my first all-nighter at the theater. And so there, like 3 a.m., I had school the next day, but there was nowhere else that I wanted to be in that moment other than getting those props for the kids sorted, finishing the painting, because we had to do an Eiffel Tower painting as a prop. And there was all the little detail works that build up as you're preparing to open a show. And so I was studying to become a nurse. I was studying at the University of Idaho. And anyway, when an opportunity to kind of do this full time, I dove in thinking, well, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing. And so my dreams also came true at RTOP.
That's beautiful. How does RTOP become formed?
I came up to Pullman on a vacation with my mother. We stayed here. We never went back. And Jim came in one day and said the local theater needed help. The artistic director for the group, she was retiring. So the board approached me after the show and said, would you consider coming on board? And I said, as long as it doesn't take over my life, which it has. So anyway, I built up their season. I built up the theater. And then I left that organization, and people said, oh, since you're not doing anything, why don't you start another theater? And I said, oh, no. I just really need to get out of this. It has taken over my life. And so anyway, they kept pursuing, and I said, okay. And Nancy Wexler, who's not here, she's also a board founding member of the company, said, well, I have a building downtown that I don't know if you could use it or not, maybe for rehearsals or so forth. But I'd be more than happy to let you use it. Her great grandfather built it. They were founding members of the Pullman community. So we opened up. We didn't have all the bells and whistles, but we were able to open up.
So if I may, Tina, can you please let us know, what were you doing with theater? How were you doing theater? What was theater in this area before RTOP?
I had been part of a women's vocal group called Tapestry, and the director of that, prior to that group being born, he had done some theater, and they called it the Occasional Theater Company of Colfax, because it was whenever they wanted to do a show, they just did a show. I decided, oh, well, that would be really fun. I just happened to see a show that I wanted to audition for and got involved with the Colfax group. But I was so thankful to meet John, because it just changed my whole trajectory, I guess, of theater. I really wasn't involved in theater a whole lot during college. I had done some in high school, and my dad was a musician in Las Vegas. And so I grew up singing with him, on the stage, singing Babyface and Four Leaf Clover and all those, he put me through the whole spiel. And so I'd always have a love. I've always had a love for performing, but never really learned the craft until John. And he just taught me everything that I know. And I don't know where I'd be without all that knowledge. It's given me it's opened a whole new world as far as not only performing, but being able to teach here at the theater. I also work for a private Christian school in Pullman, and I'm able to pass on all that information and just what I've learned from John to those kids, which is so important. The arts are so important.
Nice.
Thanks, John.
Production wise, I guess, Michael, you would be next, right? So can you describe what it has done for you in terms of your path?
My first experience, like I mentioned, was Sound of Music. And it was just another creative outlet, being able to audition for shows and be in shows from time to time. Yeah, I played Friedrich.
And I was Maria at the time. Oh,
yeah. And then RTOP formed, and I was able to be in Beauty and the Beast, and you were Mrs. Potts. And your son, who now teaches with me, he was Sugar Cube. So we were able to perform together, and it was just a theater family, a community kind of forming. It wasn't like a career or a livelihood. It was a creative outlet, good people and good art to take part in, and then coming on board with Madeline's Christmas and seasonal workshops and summer camps, teaching. I was going through college, working as a CNA because I was gearing up to be a nurse, and I was kind of not satisfied with what I was doing work-wise, and thinking I need to kind of take a life inventory and audit of like, where do I want to go and what do I want to do? Because I could do this really well as a nurse, but it'd probably be a job and not like a real passion or something that would get me excited to do it day in, day out. And so on top of school full time and 2 part-time jobs, I was volunteering 30 plus hours a week at the theater. And so I was like, well, that's a big chunk of time that I'm already dedicating. And if I can kind of just dive in and make it full time. I was privileged enough to go on exchange to Germany, and I would see shows, and I even took part in the drama program there. Went to the UK for a bit to visit my sister, and was able to do an international show, a sister act. But I guess the trajectory, going back to your question, it's just ramped up the performing arts in my life. You know, from just a mild interest to all consuming like career and passion and
like our home.
Yeah, it really is a home for artists and a refuge for people to enjoy and create together. That's what I strive to create and have it be. And for our patrons and guest artists alike, local talent, blending them with guest artists from across the country. It's just such a privilege, and the legacy that John's created. The resources are there to really make spectacular, top-notch quality theater.
I will say, just so it doesn't get glanced over, Gavin, who is not even out of university, still in school, I would notice like, boy, this is probably my favorite part of the show. You know, no, this is also one of my favorite parts of the show. And every time it had to do with Gavin's choreography. Gavin, this is also not your first production. When did you start joining RTOP?
I am attending Washington State University here in Pullman. So I moved here a year ago, and I did theater in high school, but I graduated in 2020. So as soon as I graduated, there was the pandemic, and I didn't really have any options to like explore theater after high school. So when I moved here, I already previously knew about the RTOP theater. And so I went down and I didn't go down there, but I sent an audition tape in for Guys and Dolls. And I was in talks with Michael the weekend before rehearsals were starting, and they cast me, and that's how I got started.
And then Juliann, what is it you're going to school for, and how is RTOP helping you with that?
Like Gavin, a student at Washington State University. My major is actually fashion design. And every student in our program has to have an internship. And so I had applied to some fashion companies, a color guard uniform for like marching band company, and RTOP. And RTOP welcomed me in, and I've been really thankful to John and Michael and Tina and Gavin and everyone for really accepting me into RTOP and welcoming me kind of into the production team. At least I feel like I am. John really welcoming my suggestions with costumes and just being able to learn a lot about costuming and even being able to apply like what I know from fashion and all these other aspects of like clothing that I'm able to bring into RTOP and have them accept that and be useful.
We also have with us the female stars of the show, Vivi, who your real name is Vittoria, and you come from Italy, and you're going to be going to London after this. So, yeah, how did RTOP end up on your radar in White Christmas?
Well, so I recently graduated from the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York. And I had been auditioning and doing other projects in New York. And, part of the process of being an actor in New York is just like auditioning for whatever you see that, sparks an interest or you feel like you could be right for the role. And when I saw the RTOP season, I loved. I saw that it was Damn Yankees, which is such a fun show, and White Christmas. So originally I had asked to audition for either Lola in Damn Yankees or Judy Haynes in White Christmas. And unfortunately, they asked me to get a call back for Lola, and I wouldn't have been able to be there because I was in Italy doing a different show during the summer. And so I asked if I could go on and audition directly for Judy Haynes. And like very shortly after, I received the offer to play Judy, and I was literally so excited because I remember waking up. I was like having a sleepover with my friend, and I woke up in the morning at like 8, just like check my phone really quickly, and I see you got the offer for White Christmas, and I was like, and I shook my friend. I was like, I got the part. And then when I came back, I packed up my apartment in New York and came straight to Pullman, and I'm living in this awesome house, which was Jim's childhood home. So just being in this cast, everyone has been so amazing, and I feel really grateful to have my sister over here. And we just like hit it off from the start. So I just feel like so grateful to be here.
Word, yeah, grateful.
And then my sister over here.
I grew up a very strict ballet dancer. So when I saw the call for RTOP in their season, I was like, oh, those are some pretty dance heavy shows, especially like Anastasia has a lot of ballet in it, like that kind of thing. And that's my specialty. So when I first actually submitted, I remember my email, I was like, I have a lot of ensemble experience and dance experience. I didn't even like mention Betty, which is, for context, I play Betty Haynes in the show. I didn't even mention Betty, which is kind of funny. And then I think what it was is the first song on my vocal reel is The Boy Next Door, which is very of the time period as well, like golden age of film. And I think that's what made them be like, oh. And so I was kind of like, whoa, when I got the email with the callback for Betty, because I actually didn't even explicitly like go for that. It was kind of just like a fun little like, oh, that's great that you see me as that. I would love to do that. I love White Christmas and Rosemary Clooney, and grew up with that, watching that with my dad a lot. And then from there, yeah, it's like very similar. It was like I remember the same thing. I woke up to like the offer, and it was very exciting. But that time was crazy too, because I at the same time got an offer to go to South Korea to be with the theater company. So I remember that whole week I had to keep John and Michael on their toes, because I was like, I'm so sorry, I have to work out with these people in Korea if I can make sure I can come there after I'm done here, so that way I can do both, because I do want to do this. I've been so happy to be here. I'm going to be really sad next week to leave, but also like I'm really proud of all of us and everything we've accomplished.
And then we also have this other female dynamic duo from the show, which I have told you both from the get-go, your comedic talents are unmatched. Oh my God. I just think of you as Rhoda, and you just explode every time you're on the stage. It's fantastic.
I'm Vittoria. I'm playing Rita in the show. And I also grew up very much with a dance heavy background. So I saw the listing online for RTOP's production of White Christmas, and I auditioned for an ensemble member to be one of the dancers in the show. And getting the call back for Rita was very exciting and unexpected for me. So I have been just so grateful for this. And it's my first time doing a speaking role in a professional theater. So it's been super exciting to like delve into such a fun character and work on accents that I've never worked with this kind of East Coast vintage accent, which has been just so much fun, and playing off of my Rhoda Pam, and it's just been a blast.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Pam Veltri, and I play Rhoda. For both of us, when we saw the listing, it was for kind of an immediate fill. So we found out that we got the roles maybe a week or 2 weeks before rehearsal started. And we came into rehearsals a week late, just because of we had to put all our affairs in order to leave where we were to, fly across the country. So it all happened very, very fast, but we've had a lot of fun. I think I've had fun. I don't know if she's had fun, but
so much fun.
I would like to say that I think a mutual favorite number of ours is working with Tina, because Tina has been like the mother of here at the Palouse. Yeah, for real. For real. Like, I remember when we first got here, I was talking about we always forget to buy like lemons and stuff. And the next day, Tina comes with like a whole big bag of lemons and like a bunch of tea for us. And like, it's just been like so fun. Yeah. Also I remember like our second rehearsal, we sat down and we did Falling Out of Love, which is I
was so excited in that music rehearsal. I blew out my voice that night because I was just like, I was going so gung-ho because we just kept singing it.
I remember something about doing like a 3-part harmony, so tight that it's just like, it's like when you nail it, you can't.
I have to say, every show I do, I go, this is it, I'm retiring. But I have to say the cast of White Christmas has rejuvenated my hopes for the future. I see that they have really good training, that they've had instructors and teachers and mentors that knew what they were doing, and they came from a period of time where they had respect, they had theater manners, and this cast has rejuvenated me. I mean, I'm so happy to go to the theater. I think we all are, but I really am. You don't know, guys. I'm so happy to go to the theater and be part of the process that we have gone through in the last month. And also, it is such a joy to see the audiences, how they're reacting, and the comments they're putting on social media. It's just a joy. And this cast has a really healthy ego. They don't have an unhealthy ego. They're really healthy. So anyway, I want to thank everyone that's here tonight. It's a joy. And I'm going to be really sad to see all of you leave. Yeah. I'm tearing up right now. And I don't do that ever. Not for years anyway. So thank you, guys. Thank you for bringing us together, by the way.
Yeah, of course. It's one of the benefits of, do this for a living. You get to constantly meet different groups of people. And, this is not just a career, it's a life experience every time you do something new. So a big, big thanks to John, Jim, Michael, Tina. And to think that there was no theater right here. There's some nightlife here. There's some art here. And now RTOP gets to be kind of the centerpiece of, for the last, 18 years, the art centerpiece of the town. Thank you all so much. This has been a great treat, really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Yep.
Tomorrow.